Hello.
Hello, sir.
How you doing, Ryan?
Good, how are you?
I'm glad this is working.
Me too.
So today's guest on T Cubed is my good friend Ryan Davidson. He is a Grammy-nominated guitar player. He's excellent on the studio and on stage, and he's been a great friend of mine for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Davidson.
Hi.
I'll insert some applause sounds. So we're going to begin with asking Ryan 25 questions, and I'm really excited about this. So thank you for being with me today, Ryan. My pleasure. We are doing an interview in a Tesla because we can't be together right now, which is crummy, but I'm glad we can be here virtually. So this is super awesome.
It is.
So let's get started. Question number one, who was your first teacher?
My first teacher was a man named Dean McKenzie here in Edmonton, and he was kind of the guy who spoke the most amount of truth to me at a very young age.
Okay. And
also an excellent teacher.
How old were you when that happened?
Age 8.
Cool. Okay, great. And was he a school teacher, or how were you connected with him?
I think I was introduced to him from somebody else. I was so young, I don't even remember how. He was just a private teacher, taught from his home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you want to take guitar lessons before you met him, or did he seek you out, or how did you connect exactly?
Actually, I tried to take lessons from when I was 6, and he said that my hands were too small still at that point, and to wait a couple of years. So
okay.
I waited a couple of years. I started when I was 8, and in the first lesson, he told me, "Okay, gauging how well you play, you're below average learning ability for music. So you can do this, but it's just going to be much harder for you than an average student."
Got it.
And he was not wrong.
So it was kind of nice that he was honest with you instead of rushing you where you might have not been ready and might have given up too soon, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad he had the wisdom to ask you to wait. That's great. Excellent.
Thank you.
Question number 2 is, when was your first official paid gig?
If I were to guess, I think it was when I was about 15.
Yep.
At the Ritz Diner in Edmonton, playing bass.
Cool. Who was that for?
A man named Andy McCormick.
Okay, and what genre were you playing? What sort of music were you doing?
Like flower power, like 60s hippie music, like Donovan and Bob Dylan and those kinds of people.
Okay, great, cool. And was that a fun gig for you?
It was.
And did you learn? Did he give you a set list of all the songs and you woodshedded them? What did that look like?
In those days, I just used to go to his house and he would teach me the songs audibly, and I would just try to learn how to play them. Well,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And at that point, were you more focused on a guitar player, or were you playing the bass just because someone asked, or had you played the bass before that?
I played the bass in high school, but I never played the bass as the role of a bass player, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I played it as a tuba player.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Do you remember what you got paid for that gig, just out of curiosity?
Oh, probably $20 or something.
Okay, and how long was the gig?
Oh, not very long, a couple sets a night. But $20 in the late 80s for a 14 or 15-year-old was a big deal.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's great. I've never asked you that question, so I was actually curious. What was your first big gig? So thank you. Question number 3: who is your desert island artist? You're on a desert island, and you can have one catalog. You can have a catalog of one artist. Who are you going to choose, and why?
Oh boy, I'd have to go with Mozart or Chopin. Well, let's go with Mozart.
Okay, cool. I kind of suspected that might be the case. And why is that?
It's just so pristinely perfect music that is not just, mathematically perfect, but it's also just some of the most beautiful, inspiring music that I've come across.
Cool. Excellent. All right, Mozart is the Desert Island Artists.
Yes.
Great. Question number 4. I know this may be a difficult one for you to answer. Tell us about your best show ever and why.
Do you mean best show like I enjoyed it the most?
You can kind of decide. You can decide. I mean, it can. I mean, I'm sure you have several, but give me one of your really good memories. So I'm just going to straighten you out here so that you don't fall over.
Okay.
One of the gigs you did that was just like crazy memorable, or for whatever reason.
Oh boy, there's so many that I look back on and think were great. But I guess my obvious choice might be the Vanished CD release party in Edmonton, which was my second release.
Yeah.
Because it was, packed to capacity, and everybody was very enthusiastic, and of course I'm playing my own music.
Yes.
And I think that probably goes in the number 1 spot, I think.
That's really neat when you're playing your own music and you have that huge support. I kind of know how that feels, but I mean, I've always admired your writing ability, and you're a side guy for so many people, but you're also your own artist, which I really respect. That's cool.
Thank you for that.
I'm sure we could talk for hours about your favorite gigs, because I know you've got lots. So.
I'd like to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. The next question, and how many gigs per year have you done on average for the past 5 years? Which is like just a ballpark.
Well, I did a tally of the gigs from last year, and there was about in the 150 range, but that's kind of a slow year.
Okay.
So I would say somewhere in the 2 to 250 range is about average.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I like to be busy.
Yeah, no kidding. And what? Just as a quick tag on that, where's the furthest you've gone to do one of those shows?
You mean in last year?
Yeah.
Was it Bulgaria, Italy?
You played in Italy. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Super cool. Okay, great.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is the funniest thing you've ever seen on stage or backstage?
Oh boy. Let's try and pick something not too offensive here.
Yeah, keep it reasonably.
I don't know if it's funny now. It probably wasn't funny to me at the time, but I had to play a gig, a 6-night gig, for which the night before I had a concussion and got stitches in the back of my head.
Oh, wow.
And so the whole week I literally sat on the stage with a big bucket beside me, throwing up every once in a while. And it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time.
I shouldn't laugh.
Well, no, it is funny. Like, I think about it now, it's absurd. But we don't get any sick days, so.
Yeah. That's a new one. I haven't heard that. What was with the concussion? How did that happen?
Little to my knowledge at that point in my life, which was my early 20s, but I have a very low blood pressure problem.
Okay.
So I was sleeping just prior to getting up. And I guess getting up was the wrong idea. So I unfortunately smashed my head open.
Ouch.
Which is not good. Yeah. That's what happened to me.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, and I'm glad you made it through that gig.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay, great. Next question is, when did you decide you wanted to be a professional in the music business? What year did that happen, and how did that transpire?
That's not the first time somebody's asked me that, and the answer is always, I don't actually know when, because I don't ever remember having any other thoughts in my head besides that. And so I asked my mother, I said, when did I tell you I wanted to play guitar? And she said, your birthday in 1980, which I would have been 5.
Yeah.
And they said, do you want to play guitar? And I said, yeah, I want to play guitar in a band. That's what I want to do in life. And they said, do you want to sing? I said, no, I do not want to sing. Just want to play guitar.
Yeah.
So apparently that's when it was. I was 5, I guess.
very cool. Next question is a follow-up to that one, and it is, did people say you were crazy and you should have something to fall back on?
Oh, yes. I think everybody who knew me said that. And, you know, I guess there's part of it that's correct, except for the fact that I really don't have that. I mean, I really have put all my eggs in one basket here. And I think I did it for the first little while just out of stubbornness, just to say that I could do it.
Yeah. So the follow-up question to that is, what would you say to those people now?
Turns out it wasn't a phase.
It wasn't a phase. I was actually serious when I said that.
Yeah, I was dead serious when I was 5 years old about that, because my mother has told me I said it with great determination, like I was going to do it whether anybody liked it or not. So
that's very cool. Thank you for that. That's very inspiring.
Of course.
Okay, this is a fun question. I'm not sure how you're going to respond, so I'm very curious.
Uh-oh.
And the answer may be, I already do. So just be aware of this question. If you could have any gig in the world, past or present, what would it be and why?
Oh boy. Well, let's just say the first thing that comes to my head, my own. like if I had my own choice, I would be touring my own music all over the world.
Yeah.
However, I play a style of music that isn't you know, very palatable and accessible for most people. So there's so many gigs that I'd love to do. I mean, I love the gig I have now with Gord, because I get to play with ridiculously good musicians, and we get great gigs, and we get paid well, and it's, you know, it's awesome.
Yes.
Past that, I've played lots of gigs that I really enjoyed. But it's like if there's a dream gig, I would love to play with like a Sting or a Peter Gabriel or one of those those people.
Cool. Have you seen Sting or Peter Gabriel live as an add-on to that?
I never have, you know.
It's funny that you mentioned those two. I actually saw them both together in Edmonton back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty mind-bending show. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Because they both had different bands. It's like, how many world-class musicians can you fit on one stage? It was very silly. Okay, it is time for the lightning round.
Oh no!
I'm going to add some some stuff in here. Okay, and I just wrote this like literally 15 minutes ago because I like procrastinating. So this is just quick this or that questions. Knee-jerk responses are fine. Again, there's nothing embarrassing in here. It's just me wanting to know more about how Ryan ticks.
Okay.
All right, number one, Joe Satriani or Steve Vai?
Oh boy, I'd have to go with Vai on that one.
Okay, number two, Fender or Gibson?
Fender.
Number three, Beethoven or Mozart?
Oh, Mozart, of course.
Number four, Saint FX or Grant McEwen?
Well, I'm thinking about also, I went to Grant McEwen at two completely different times, right? So.
Oh, that's right.
I would say maybe it'd be a toss-up between 1995 version of Grant McEwen and Saint FX in 2006.
Okay.
Right there.
So a bit of both. All right. Yeah. Number five, country or jazz?
Oh, country.
Okay. Number six, Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
Beatles.
Number seven, Duke Ellington or Oscar Peterson?
Duke Ellington.
Number eight, Chicago or Steely Dan?
Chicago.
Number nine, Joe Pass or George Benson?
Joe Pass.
Number 10, Inception or The Matrix?
Oh boy, Matrix.
There you have it, folks. Ryan Davidson's lightning round.
Yay!
All right. This next question, I think I know what the answer is, but I'm not totally sure. So it is, when was the first time you heard yourself on the radio, and how did that feel?
I should know this because
yeah, you might not. You might not remember.
It's probably hearing Heroes in 2004. I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And do you remember what station you heard it on, Ryan?
I think I was driving to Calgary, as I do 5 gazillion times a year. So it probably was on 95.5 in Red Deer.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
Well, Red Deer, they played a lot of Gord stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they sure do.
Cool. Thank you for that. That's what I thought the answer was. This is a bit of an embarrassing question. Tell us a story about the show that bombed. And I know you've shared some of these stories with me previously, but you can take your pick here. I'm not judging. I'm just curious. Give me a story about like the gig that you wish didn't exist.
Oh boy. Ironically, earlier when I said, what's my greatest gig memory, my, sort of the floppiest, horrible gig was also like the trio show. Okay. One of them, it was at the Mercury Room. It was like, there were like 10 people there, and it was one of those nights that I just sucked bad. And I went home, I had lost, I'm not even exaggerating, probably $700 or $800 putting the gig on.
Oh, wow.
And I played terrible, and there was like 10 people there, and it was awful.
Okay, yeah. That's a good story. I know I've heard many other stories, but that's a heartbreaking one. When you're doing your own show and you invest all that time and money and energy into it, and the response isn't quite what you hoped for.
Yep.
I'm just going to slow down up here, Ryan, and do a little turn.
Sure.
I'm just worried this iPad's going to fall down here. Oh! Ryan, are you okay?
I'm okay. I think the concussion is back.
This is I really need to come up with a better method for suspending. Oh my God!
I'll just be safe there.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I don't want to monkey with this while I'm driving. So.
Sure.
I knew that was going to happen. Welcome back to our podcast with Ryan Davidson. 2525 Tesla, or T Cubed. This is our debut episode with Grammy-nominated guitar player extraordinaire Ryan Davidson. Ryan Davidson, everybody! Woo! Yay! And what was the one thing? And the crowd goes mild. Is that the thing you'd say?
Yeah. I know you're out there. I can hear you breathing.
Okay.
All right.
This question you sort of already answered when you talked about your first teacher, but we'll see if we get some different information here. Who has advocated the most for you in your career?
I'd say that's probably a two-part question. I'd say professionally, probably Steve Wiest. Well, not probably, it is.
Okay.
He's given me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have normally. And when he says, hey, I'm going to do this completely unbelievable thing, he somehow always makes it happen.
That's cool.
Personally, I would say Zan, my partner.
Okay.
Just because she's not a musician, and she, I'm sure that I'm a little hard to live with occasionally with my neurosis of music. And she's supportive of me 100%.
That's awesome. Thank you. I love Zan. She's great, and I'm really happy that she supports you in what you do. I know as a musician, it's very difficult to find someone that supports us in lieu of all the crazy stuff that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I've never met Steve Wiest, but I've seen the stuff that he does with Vinyl Hampton, and it's very cool. So I'm really glad that you're a part of that. That's amazing.
I am too. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Okay, this might be hard to think of, but maybe you've got a quick answer for this. What's your favorite song to play in front of an audience?
It's probably one of my own tunes. I don't really have favorites when it comes to that.
Okay.
So, I don't know, maybe it's something off of one of the first 3 albums or something. I'm like playing arrangements of classical music a lot of times.
Yep.
So maybe Lacrimosa off the last album, or the Schumann piece off the first album, or there's a few of them.
I like that. The Lacrimosa, I really like that piece a lot. It's great.
Well, it's our old friend Mozart again. I could write, eh?
It's hard to. I like all 3 of your records, and it's hard to say which one's the favorite because they all have their own different personalities. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Who inspires you today?
I would say just probably the musicians I get to play with the most. In this case, obviously the Gord Bamford band and Gord and Mac and everybody involved. Seeing how hard everybody works at this, and we're always trying to push each other to play better, do better. That's sort of like the first contact people that I would say inspire me for music is that.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to music for recreation, believe it or not. Movie soundtracks also.
Movie soundtracks inspire you?
Yeah, movie and TV soundtracks are probably the biggest recorded inspiration that I have.
Yeah.
So
give me an example. Give me an example of a movie soundtrack that you would just, if you could have the soundtrack to one movie, what would it be?
Oh boy. I like all the Hans Zimmer stuff, so probably Interstellar was great. Inception was obviously also great. TV stuff, Westworld.
Okay.
There's so many good ones, so many great composers out there.
Cool, great. Okay, next question. What is the most awkward, embarrassing moment you've ever had on stage?
Sometime in my 20s, I was playing in Rocky Mountain House, and the band I was playing in, I don't know what the hell we were thinking when we decided to do this, but it was about 3 songs from the end of the night, set for Saturday night, busy bar, and the whole band decided that we were going to play the last 3 songs in our boxer shorts. Now, while this sounds completely stupid, the stupid part didn't come from taking off our clothes and wearing boxer shorts. It was not the embarrassing part. It was the fact that I totally did not realize that a wireless pack weighs a lot more than you think when you have to put it to your boxer shorts. So I put the wireless pack on the back, and I could feel my underwear slowly creeping down. So I spent the whole last 3 songs up against the backdrop, trying to hold my underwear up, playing for 3 songs, and then it was over. I took it off, threw on the ground, and oh man, awkward. That backfired.
I'm wishing I asked that question last now. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, I've done some stupid things in my life, let me tell you.
I've not heard that story before. That's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Well, maybe I should have kept that one to myself, but
no, that's a good one. This question, I'm very curious to know how you're going to answer it. You can have 1 hour of time with a musician artist who is no longer alive. Who do you choose and why?
Oh man, there's so many. I'm going to go with Danny Gatton.
Cool.
Yeah.
And why did you choose him?
Well, he was a big, my early years, I guess he still is. I mean, he was a big inspiration to my playing, and he just seemed like an interesting guy who was so incredibly, had this amazing art that he put out, but seemed like the non-artist type,
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was one of those super pickers, right?
Yeah, and just, he didn't sound like anybody else, and Guitar Player magazine deemed him to be the world's greatest unknown guitar player.
Oh, okay.
So he was, he got a lot of fame suddenly in the guitar world very quickly, and of course his life ended very tragically, unfortunately. So I'd like to ask him what was going on with him at that time.
Yeah. Wow, good answer. Thank you. What is the most rewarding experience you've had transcribing and playing a song that challenged or inspired you?
Oh boy. Well, for the record, I do so much transcription. That's like I'm looking at it right now. There's 2 whole shelves of transcription sitting in front of me. So a lot of it is challenging. But if I were to pick a few, I would say, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, Julian Lage. His I'll Be Seeing You solo was a big one. That was his last year.
Okay.
And I think another one would have been Danny Gatton's Cadence on Sleepwalk, which I did a couple years ago, maybe now. Yeah, they taught me a lot of things about guitar, and it's just exceptional guitar playing.
When you do play these songs, do you sometimes just go at them by ear, or do you actually sit down and start writing out the notes?
If it's a really long one, I have to write the notes out because my brain power is not very high. Okay. So I have to write it out and play it slowly, and it's a long, arduous process of, like, some of the transcriptions I posted online are maybe 30 seconds long, but they took me like 3 weeks or a month of doing it every day just to get it.
And is that your Angry Transcriber series that you're a part of?
Some of it. It's a lot of those ones were for gigs, but the Danny Gatton one is on there.
Okay.
Because it was just something I had heard the recording a bunch of times, and I just wanted to know what was going on there, and how can I incorporate it into my playing, or all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the largest number of songs you've had to learn for a gig?
I would guess maybe about 50 or 60.
Wow. And what show would that be for example?
It would have been for a typical, country band thing where you're playing 48 or 50 songs already that night, but they wanted you learn like 10 extras or something,
Yeah. So you've had to learn like 60 songs for one show?
Yeah, mostly in my 20s, because of course I didn't come from a country background, right? So I was starting at totally square one, didn't know anything about anything in country.
Yeah.
So the first, 5 to 10 years, it's pretty rough every week playing with different bands all the time.
Yeah. Cool. This question's sort of a tag to that. What's the longest show you've played without a break?
Well, some of the tour shows we just played were between 3 and 3.5 hours of playing.
Wow.
But there is a half an hour break after the first half hour. But I've played gigs that are 3 or 4 hours long before. Like on New Year's, I've been on stage for 3 or 4 hours trying to play. In the studio, I've done 6-hour stints.
Wow.
But these days, I try not to do that with getting older and tendonitis and hands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, next question is, and I know that as a gigging musician, you don't maybe get to see as many shows as other people who aren't musicians, but what is the greatest show you've ever seen and why? Tell us about that.
Oh boy. I think I would have to say I saw the Pat Metheny Trio play in, I think it was 2000 at the Windsor here in Edmonton, and there were so many moments in it that were just so unbelievably good. I actually could feel my eyes welling up with tears. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about very many shows that I've seen like that.
And was Lyle Mays on that show, Ryan?
No, it was just a trio. It was Larry Grenadier and Bill Stewart.
Oh, okay, so it was real stripped down then.
Yep.
That's a great story, man. I'm a big Pat Metheny fan, and I know that I know you are as well.
Well, it was one of those nights that started out great and ended not so great by me standing in the lobby. And I remember thinking, man, I'd love to talk to him for just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I turned on to go to the washroom, and I ran directly into him.
Oh, really?
He was standing right behind me. Yeah, as soon as I ran into him, I couldn't speak. I was just like, oh
no.
And then I got my picture taken with him. And I think I said something really stupid. And I remember, and he had a really sarcastic response, which was warranted because I said something really stupid.
Oh, yeah.
And I left the Windsor thinking, oh, what did I just do? Oh, man. But, man, what a show, though. Oh, Probably.
That would be legendary. Well, yeah, you've played in the Windspear many times yourself, but to hear those guys in there would be, that'd be amazing.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Cool. What would you say is your greatest achievement to date?
Boy, I don't really ever think about this. I would say still being able to play live music for a living.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's face it, aside from the whole pandemic that's going on right now, even before that, I mean, it's not easy to only play live music and make a living off of that. I mean, there's only a handful of people that can do that in our province. And I think that probably, if there is an accomplishment, it's probably my stubbornness and not unwillingness to give up.
Yeah.
Even though I've wanted to quit many, many times. Right. I think that's what I would say is the greatest one.
Cool. Thank you. That's very inspiring. We got a few more questions here before we wrap up with Ryan Davidson. Yeah, Ryan Davidson, everybody. Crazy cool hanging out with this guy, even though we're not face-to-face. We're virtual face-to-face. But anyways, we are doing 25 questions for 25 musicians in Teslas. That's the point of this blog, and we're talking about people in the music business and just getting to know more about how things work with them and hearing some of their stories. We have 2 more questions, Ryan. This one is an interesting one. I don't know if I've asked you this before privately, but if you weren't in the music business, what would your other career be and why?
I would love to edit video for movies and TV.
Okay.
Or maybe it might be more of a DOP position, you know, deciding how certain things are going to look or that kind of stuff.
So would you say DOP, like director of photography, like camera angles and things like that?
Yeah, just I know it varies from movie and TV series, but some work that I see, I go, man, I never would have thought of that. That's so great.
Yeah.
That stuff fascinates me.
Oh, sorry, we hit some bump actions here.
That's all right.
I don't want Ryan to get injured again. This road is questionable. All right, last question.
Okay.
What one piece of advice would you give anyone who is interested in pursuing a career in the music business?
Do it because you love it. Because you certainly don't get into the music business for money.
Yeah.
And fame is just your ego talking. So I think you have to actually love doing it. And that's harder for people to realize than you might think. Because a lot of people define their success in music by who they play with, where they play, how big the venue is, how many people there are there. But really, you know, and this is a classic kind of example that I give when somebody says, I'll feel successful and be a great musician when I just play, I don't know, you pick it, like some big venue, right? So then they play there, and they play there twice, and then they don't feel any more successful. So then they keep setting the bar higher and higher until they can't go any higher.
Yeah. And
then they realize that none of it really, that was just ego talk. I think you have to love playing music as sort of base thing. So do that first, then decide if you want to get into the music industry.
Yeah. That's very good advice, Ryan. Thank you for your time today. My guest today has been Ryan Davidson, Grammy-nominated guitar player, stage studio, awesome hang. Thank you so much, sir, for hanging out with me today, and we look forward to talking to more musicians in the business. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Greg. Thank you for having me on.
Until next time, everybody, thank you. We'll talk to you later.